Welcome into In the Bonus. Isis Young and myself, Megan Caffrey, are here. We're pumped to be joined with you as Ice. If you can believe it, already we've got the final full week of conference play upon us. This season, girlfriend, has literally flown by.
My gosh, every year around this time, especially February, it's February. It just goes by so quickly. And normally I feel like it's because it's so many good games. So we're just looking forward to the next good game, the next good game. And then when you turn around, it's like, oh, it's time for a conference tournament. And I'm preparing for conference tournaments. Like, oh my goodness.
It's crazy. And we were talking about it a little bit before, but update everyone. You had a crazy February yourself. That's kind of why it flew by. What were you up to this past month?
Yeah, I mean, just, different games, men's and women's college, traveling on the road. I've had some Big Ten games with like Michigan and Nebraska women's basketball. I've done a Seton Hall game and got to call, them and catch up with Coach Bozzella in person. I've had an overtime thriller, Iowa at Ohio State women's basketball the other week, which was really fun. I just kind of feel like just really enjoying like covering both men's and women's hoops. And again, like this part of the year, it really becomes just so magical. Like there is just always hoops on, and there's a ton of storylines, and everything's kind of building up towards this one big moment. So I'm excited for it. How about you? How's everything for you?
Everything's good. Everything's good.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you said, right? It's like we've been putting in the work. And I think the
Mm.
exciting thing is the teams have been putting in their work as well,
Yeah.
honestly. And as we kind of look back as to what some teams in the Big East were able to do last week, what stood out to me, Ice, and has been standing out to me, honestly, has been Marquette. They
Yeah.
are on a four-game win streak. Right now, the Golden Eagles 11-5 in conference play. They're tied with Seton Hall. And I think it is just so impressive what they have been able to do. Within this four-game win streak, that the game that sparked it for them was their game against Seton Hall. And then you look at the games after, DePaul, Providence, Georgetown. They're beating teams. It's not just like a 1 point win here. They're beating teams pretty handedly by 10 points with some of these cases. So I've been really impressed with them. I think Skylar Forbes, she has to have a huge shout out to her. She's averaging just over 15 points per game. She's in the top 10 in scoring in the league. And I just think impressive is the word that comes to mind with Marquette. And you're doing that all with a brand new head coach this year.
Mm.
I think it's kind of that, to be a cliche, peaking at the right time, right?
Yeah.
Everything coming together when you want it to as March is approaching. I've been super impressed with them.
Yeah, I was on that game for their win at Seton Hall, and it was a huge bounce back game, momentum game, a great game to win on the road. And then you just pick up steam. On the same side, though, or on the same tip, I guess, Seton Hall is a team that I would highlight and say, looking back, I always love rivalry games. They, beat the Red Storm 66-57 last week, and just did some very good things that you want to see them doing at this point in the season. They knocked down 8 threes and shot 34%. They've had 19 points off of turnovers. They're known for that gritty defense and athleticism. And then I just feel like this rivalry win, especially late in February, gives you a lot of momentum when you're getting into the tournament. We know momentum and confidence are two things that are hard to get in your grasp, but once you do, you really want to ride that wave. So I would say looking back, like those two teams for sure, certainly throughout the course of this season, the Golden Eagles and Pirates have weathered storms and been able to get key wins when they needed them. And I would say they look really strong going into the Big East tournament.
And they've weathered storms, interestingly enough, with unexpected veterans. I think
Yeah.
that's like really awesome, right? The transfers that you've got coming in for the Pirates and everything. So I love it. Let's turn now to 3 minutes, three questions, Ice, a fan favorite segment that we've got. I'm going to start here. Question number one for you. We're going to talk a little bit UConn Huskies. Sarah Strong, she just earned her
Mm.
ninth Freshman of the Week honors this week, Ice. What makes her so impressive?
Yeah, I feel like I've been saying it all season, but her versatility and maturity, she's scoring more in the low post, in the mid post, in the high post, and also from three. She looks comfortable when she's demanding the ball. I mean, specifically during their win and huge win on the road versus South Carolina, I thought she played with such a level of physicality that it looked like she was a junior or senior on the floor. And I think come tournament time, playing with physicality is so important to stand your ground, to be aggressive. She's been their steady force inside, and they'll need her to be just as steady in tournament play, especially Big East, and then obviously NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have loved her game. Okay, let's go back to talking about the Red Storm. Lachey Dwyer has been a difference maker for the Johnnies, Meg. How's she been doing it?
I think it's just she has the it factor. And I think we have been seeing, especially recently, Ice, the reason that Joe Tartamella brought her into the Johnnies, right? She's got
Mm,
this it factor. She's an impact player. She knows how to score. And get this past week on offense, she averaged 17 and a half points. That's going up against a ranked Creighton team against the Pirates. She was proficient in shooting as well, 60% shooting from the field. She just knows where to find her shot. And on top of it, if her shot's not falling, she's not afraid to explore different avenues and how to find it. And I think that that's one thing that you see in a lot of veteran players, especially, right? The fact that shooter's going to shoot, right? They're not going to get
yeah.
flustered when their shot isn't falling, and they're going to figure out different ways to make it happen. And that's one thing that's been
Mm.
really interesting with watching as her game, as I've gotten to learn her game more so this season. Last question, Ice, putting you on it. All right, girl, because we've got the Big East tournament coming up here so soon. Can't wait, Mohegan Sun Arena. Don't miss that one. I want to hear a hot take. What have you got for me when you're thinking about tournament time?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the first thing is just immediately rest. For those teams that get to clinch that bye and that first round bye and get to rest for a game, it's an advantage for them. And so we mentioned Seton Hall's big win over St. John's. That allowed them to clinch that first round bye. So I would say keep your eyes on them. And then honestly, man, do not sleep on Creighton. I think the Blue Jays are building for more than just to win the Big East tournament. They're also building for seeding in the NCAA tournament. They've been a top 25 team for the past couple of weeks. So they've got a lot that they want to accomplish, and it will start with how they start the Big East tournament.
Rest. So underrated, and it's so hard to come by once March is happening. Because think about it, right? We're looking at the regular season right now is winding down. Teams are playing up until Sunday. So
Yeah.
there are four Big East games on Sunday. Ice, we're gonna dive into a couple of these on tap. The afternoon kicks off Marquette and UConn. There are two games on FS1, that being one of them, and then Villanova and Creighton is the nightcap on FS1 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Seton Hall, Xavier, you can catch those on the BEDN, as well as St. John's and DePaul. But first, I'm going to talk a little UConn, right? We were kind of alluding to this before, but Marquette and UConn, the Golden Eagles, obviously having the tough task ahead of them. But I think UConn looks really good right now to me. I think
Mm.
you talked everything with Sarah Strong, right? She's playing at such a high level, and you're watching Ice, or excuse me, you're watching Paige, you're watching AZ. This UConn team is playing for so much more, and you're seeing it with what Paige has been able to do in some of her recent games as well. I think Marquette's obviously got a tough task ahead of them, but it's going to be interesting to see how long Marquette can really hang with UConn with what they've been able to do. You can't lie, right? Momentum is a thing. They're riding.
Yeah.
They do have one game prior to this, but I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I'm excited to watch it and kind of end their season on a high note.
Yeah. And then the game that I would like to highlight is Villanova at Creighton, another game on FS1. And again, just tough games to finish the regular season, right? These are four of the top five teams in the Big East that are facing each other the last week in regular season. So it's important for each team to just kind of think about, can we win games in our identity, playing our style this time of year? And then how much confidence do picking up these wins right before the regular season give us going into tournament play? I'm so excited. The best time of the year is upon us, Meg.
Yeah, it is. I want to ask you a question. As a player yourself, kind of hanging on to that, what you just said, right? Of playing our style, of staying true to our identity. How hard is that, honestly, as March is coming, where at this point of time, people obviously know who you are, right? They know who's going to get the ball. They understand your MO, and there's always that desire to want to switch things up, right? To maybe, oh, we're gonna
Mm.
give them a taste of something new that they haven't seen quite yet. Obviously, that's part of a game, but how hard is it truly to stick to your identity when everyone is so keen in on, okay, we know exactly who's the ball handler, where it's going to go.
Yeah, I think it's the belief system and knowing that what you do in terms of your identity or in your style, you do at a high level. That more around tournament time in this year, you're focused on yourself and what you're doing rather than what the opponents have to do. I've heard coaches say that a lot with scouts sometimes when they have a tough time, getting a quick scout out or turning it around or getting the athletes to understand the other team. Is like, hey, 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 we're still focused on us. We're still focused on what we do at a very high level. And I would say you've been building all season 28, 29, 30 regular season games to get to this point where you feel confident and comfortable in your style to win. So that doesn't mean that there's only one style each team can win with. We obviously know there are teams in our league like a Creighton and UConns and Seton Halls that can win in a multitude of ways. But you want to try to stick to your identity this time of year because you would think that's what you know the best.
Love it. Ice.
Mm.
The regular season wraps up this week. March is upon us. You're about to be even crazier than what your February was. I'm excited for you. This is always so much fun. Let's grab your popcorn because we've got hoops all weekend long. It is the best time of the year.